Hello. In this series of videos, we're going to be scraping data off of the internet. We're going to be doing that using Python and the requests library along with the beautiful soup library. We will persist the data to a PostgreSQL database. We'll do that programmatically using the SQL Alchemy ORM, which is also a Python library. Some other tools that we'll use are JupyterLab, dbeaver, and VS Code. I chose this website because it's got a lot of great plant-based recipes. So, first thing we need to do is kind of look around the website to see how it's organized, to figure out what we need to start with. So, as you see here, you can click on recipes, then there's all of these subcategories. So, maybe all recipes would work, but it's kind of like not exactly what we need. You could go that way, but I think it's better to look at each subcategory, and then that takes you to this page, which then has the actual recipe link. As you see in the bottom left, if you look down here, that's kind of the URL that we're after. So we just kind of want to iterate through all of these subcategories. So every time you see that URL change up here, just hit this endpoint, get all these URLs, and then store them. Furthermore, it kind of paginates out, or there's several pages per category. So that is how that works. The first page didn't have that, then the second page did. So there's that. So to get started, as I mentioned, we're going to be using a Jupyter notebook. It just makes it easier to it's like a good sandbox once you get the request object and everything like that. Scraping. So we need requests. And that, I'm going to alias it. Okay, so as mentioned, we're going to need, let's just pretend that we have that already somewhere. So let's call it like subcategory URL. Okay, so then all right, so what's cool here is you can, after you type a period, hit tab and get a list of all the different methods and attributes available to that object. So we're probably wanting like text, so we can just kind of look at it, and that was a 403. That's probably because we didn't put enough information here. I think we probably need like a headers. So I mean, you could probably just search for headers online, but I think if we go here and then headers, here we go. So it's this user agent that you're looking for. So we'll copy that. Come back over here, and then just let's put it up here. Call headers, and then user agent. Okay. Headers equals headers. Okay, that looks better. And another way to know is do status code 200. That's good. And then erase that. All right, so that URL or that HTML that we just saw is what the browser is rendering. So somewhere in that is all of these URLs that we're looking for. If you look at the bottom left. that one. So what we want to do is kind of look at it, and it looks like it is okay. So as you see the highlighting or the highlighting as you go through here, we basically want all of the post items. Maybe not that one. So we can use, this is where Beautiful Soup comes in. We're going to search for all of the divs with that class. So it is, so we'll call our variable soup, and then you just pass in the HTML to that soup. And now as you see, there's a bunch of stuff here. I'm not super informed on everything about soup. I just use it, I basically use find and find all. So what you pass into find all is the first argument is the tag. So we could find all the divs that way, but then you can narrow it down by providing a class. So post item. And we'll call this post items. I wonder if there's a way to exclude the promo. I think we'll just do that like maybe as we iterate through. Okay, so post item 0. Oops, post item 0. So here we go. It's kind of a lot of stuff. But we know within this post item, post item, we want that. So it looks like there's only one A tag to be found, or at least the first one. So in this instance, we can just use find. So find A, because this is also like the same first. This has all the same things as the soup object, all the same methods available. So find A tag, and there it is, and then get href. So there you go. So that is kind of the methods that we need to use to get the URL off of each of these pages. So at this point, we kind of need to, I think I'm just going to manually get all of these and then write like a loop that adds on the pagination for each one. So I think it is best if I just use or just copy this over. Okay. So again, those are all those. And then we're gonna need like a loop to paginate. I guess call it base URL. So we'll loop through and append that. So for recipe type and recipe types, I think what we'll do is just have, because remember that first page didn't have a dash page dash count or like page number, and then loop through the pages. So let's just say endpoint equals URL or base URL plus recipe type. and then if counter is greater than 1 and point up like that is dash page and then counter. I think that needs an F. Okay. So I think I'm not going to get super involved in like explaining Python, but hopefully that makes sense. If not, you can probably find a lot of resources that explain just like control flow in Python. So, well, before we start with the actual scraping, let's do endpoint and then, oops, didn't mean to hit that. Good thing it didn't. Sometimes it freezes up when I do that. It's happened before. So print endpoint, we need to increment our counter, and then if counter is greater than that, that's just to stop it. Okay. So that looks right. I mean, we can just double check. Yeah. And so that's kind of the basics of what we need. But instead of if counter break, we're just going to say, well, first let's start our request. Let's get that request object. At the headers, and then if result dot status code equals 403 or 404 because it will be like, so that looks like a 404, yeah. But I guess really it could be a lot of reasons why, and so we want to break this while loop for any reason, I guess. So if it doesn't equal 200, that's the only time we're going to be able to scrape is if it's a 200. So if it doesn't equal 200, break. Okay. So then we'll have another function. So scrape URLs. And then I like to do the counter last. It's not really making a difference, but it's just helps me understand the loop better. Okay, so scrape URLs. Let's create a function for that. Actually, I think at this point, we probably have enough to go off of. I think now is a good time to actually start writing actual files. So let me bring this up. Didn't happen. That's okay. URL. Okay. So we can probably want to do just put the like specifics over here, and then this, I guess, makes sense to call it run, and it will take in the base URL. It will take in the recipe types.
I think that looks right. Okay, so now let's make, or I don't know, scrape, let's call it get URLs. And I guess it's going to take in the result. Okay, so
Okay, cool. So why don't we test it out a little bit? I'm going to actually do that thing again. If the status code or if counter equals just 3, so it gets to the third page. I don't want to run the whole, I don't want to make too many requests without knowing that it's working. So I ran it a couple times without calling the function. So I noticed that mistake, and through the magic of television, I'm able to cut out all that nonsense. I was trying to figure out what was going on, so I'm just deleting the print statements there, and then running it, and it should be fine. Now we'll run it. See how it looks. Cool. So there are a bunch of endpoints. So it is getting the weird promo thing. So I wonder maybe if we could just say, let's pop back into that notebook. And so it seems as though on that first page, 0, 1, 2, 3, the fourth one. So I wonder if you can say in BS4, like, okay, what's adders? Yeah, okay, so let's say promo in adders, could we just say class? Okay, cool. So oh, great. So that it is great. I know that sounded like not great, but that is great. So what we want to do is say if post item dot adders class promo in continue. Again, I'm not going to break down all of the ins and outs of Python, but basically if it's in there, we're going to go to the next one. Okay, let's try it now. All right, no unwanted URLs. And what is this? Features. That's cool. It told us how to get rid of it. I like that. So okay, we're liking this. Now, also though, there might be more stuff like the actual name of the recipe and like the picture seem valuable. So how do we get those? We can, let's just try .text on the object. It's a bit hairy. It's all those new lines. Is it in a specific tag? Content block. Okay. Vegan shawarma. Centerpiece of this. Oh, that's a lot of text. So actually find h3 dot text. Okay, there it is. So let's add that to our function. Get URLs. So maybe it's get. Well, we'll just leave that for the moment. So print post item dot find h3 dot text. Okay, cool. And then also we like the photo, which is so right here you just want to inspect the post item and then collapse down the div tag that is the content block. Find the image tag and then get data src. What's that do for us? Was it? It's img, right? Img, yeah. Get data-src. Is this what we want? Cool. A little big. That's okay because we're not actually storing the data, we're storing the endpoint. Back to our thing here. Print post item dot find img dot get data src. Okay, so that seems sufficient. It's the URL, the name of the recipe, and the image. Okay, so let's see what happens. Yeah, looks really great. How do we control click this? There's our picture. Homemade pita bread. And here's the actual recipe. All right, cool. So at this point, what we're going to do is instead of just printing them out, we're actually going to persist them in a database. So that'll be the next video.